Hello everybody, welcome to this exciting episode of Bob the Sign Man. Today we're going to take a little look at street sign design. What's happening now is when we lay out street signs these days, back in the years ago, they were all just uppercase. So it looked like a big rectangle until you got closer to it. Same with the highway signs now. So now we've come up with this thing. They're requiring, with the MUTCD, uppercase and lowercase lettering on street signs. The only problem with that is when you do the lowercase, everything's fine except when you run into the Q, the P, the G, the Y. You know, the tail hangs down and it doesn't center right in your traffic sign and it looks funny. So I've come up with a little workaround on that. I changed the lettering a little bit on the ones that hang down, that cascade down, whatever you want to call it. And it's worked out pretty well. Haven't had any complaints. You can still read the sign. It looks good. It looks more appealing to the eye. I've made them both ways and, you know, asked the consensus of people. What do you think? Do you like this? And nobody really liked the ones with the full case letters, the lowercase letters that hang down. Just, they didn't like it. So I'm surprised that probably, a good 90% of the people didn't like the ones hanging down. They like the ones that I designed, which is good. I like that. It makes me feel good. So anyways, let's dive into this and see how we handle the lowercase letters that hang down when we design a street sign. Let's get rolling right now. Okay, let's jump into this problem we have with the extremities, whatever you want to call them, that are hanging down. That would be the letters, you know, like a Q, a Y, what else does that? G, you know, the various letters that'll hang below. So this bottom sign right here, this would be a sign if you just, you know, do your text regularly and see how the top of the sign, it just doesn't sit right in there. And this is one that I've adjusted. You can see the Y is a lot different. And what I do is I do that so that you can center the sign better, because that just drives me nuts, because see, there's not much up top there and there's not much at the bottom. This outside here doesn't show up really because this is the actual street sign itself with the white border around. I just outlined it so we can see it on the video better. And it just doesn't look very pleasing to the eye. I've never liked those when they hang down, especially if you get some that have like a couple G's in it or something, you know, it just doesn't look right. So I adjusted it a little bit, just a letter, and I'll show you how I did that. Let's just kind of start from the beginning here. Let's drag out this sign. Let me get my tools back over here that I use. They're on the other screen. And let's set this up for a let's make this 48 long. This is our sign blank, and it's going to be 9 inches tall, and it's going to be rounded, and it's going to have a radius curvature of 0.150. Okay. So there we have our sign blank all laid out. Now what we're going to do is let's trace around that. We'll go up here to the effects, and we're going to outline. We're going to do an inline 1/2 inch. It's already kind of set up. Let's do the wireframe. And you always have to click this green apply button here. And there's our border around there. We're going to separate that outline, and we're going to uncompound it, and we're going to do a wireframe so we can see the setup. As you can see, here's our center here, and here's our center on our vertical, and here's our center on our horizontal. I'm going to drag a horizontal down here. This logo that we use is, we have these sent out, we have these made, and what I do is I'll apply the logo later, because right now we're just doing the diamond grade material with the EC film over the top, and we are investing, and we're going to be getting a digital printer pretty soon, so stay tuned for some exciting episodes when that show happens. It's going to be quite the learning curve, but we're looking forward to it. So anyways, I'm going to drag out the logo is 6 inches. And what I do is I put a 6.5 inch round on it. So let's make a 6.5 inch round circle. And we're just going to come up here to our edit tool, and we're going to make this 6.5, 6.5, and 6.5. Okay, so now we have a 6.5 inch circle. Let's bring that down. And what'll happen is that logo will go in there. So what I'm going to do is when I cut out my final cut that I want to make to apply I'm going to have that circle in there that'll the logo will go in. So now I want to do my Sunnydale, and which we do 6-inch letters, upper and lowercase. That's kind of what's suggested by the MUTCD now. A lot more cities are going to that now, and a few of them have been reaching out to me asking me, how do I make my letters adjust that letter like that? They haven't been, a lot of guys haven't figured it out. Well, I kind of worked through it and figured it out. So I'm going to add my text in, and we use a Series C. On this Flexi, we have this T2000 highway, and then you have the Series C, D, E, F even. But we use the Series C. It's already set up right here for the 6 inches. So let's just type out the Sunnydale Drive. S-U-N-N-Y-A-L-E. Sunnydale. And then the drive that we use up top, we don't spill out the drive all the way because our blanks are already long enough. This is a 48-inch long blank, and if we had to do drive, we couldn't fit everything in there. So what we're doing is we're just doing the smaller case letters up top, and those are going to be a 2.5 inch. Okay. Your drive, your street, your way, circle, court, whatever you have. And this just particular one happens to be drive. Okay, so we have that set up. Now, if we take this Sunnydale and we bring it down onto the center, you see how when you hit the sides, you get your vertical and your horizontal centers. So now we're setting this sign on center. And you can see how the Y and the S are out of, really basically almost out of the cutout that we're going to do. So this is going to be green. So the green is going to be our EC, and you can see how it's going to be out of the way. So let's get this circle. Let's bring this, we're going to fix, I think we'll come under arrange, order. We're going to bring this to the front, this circle. And that circle, we're going to turn that, since it's already highlighted, you want to make sure it's highlighted. We're going to turn it white, and we're not going to do a wireframe on it. We're going to bring it up front. Okay, now we're going to do the same with the Sunnydale. Okay, there's the Sunnydale, and we're going to turn it white. Okay, now you can see how it is on the touching the borders. It's really, there's no space in there. So what I'm going to do, let me just turn this back into a wireframe. It makes it easy. I'll adjust these with my arrows. Just bring this back over. Okay, so you can see the green blank here, or the green cutout that I'm going to be making the EC, how the letters stick out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to adjust the Y in there. So what I'll do is I'll touch this Sunnydale, I'll highlight it, and I'm going to come up to my text, see up to the top here? Come up to my text, and I'm going to break it apart, okay? So now instead of, how you just touch one letter and it highlights everything, now each letter is individual, okay? So what I'm going to do, instead, I'm going to grab that Y, and I want the top of the Y to always be with those others, so I'm going to bring the little reference mark down for that. So I always want the Y to be up there at the top. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to touch the Y, and I want to change the size of that Y, but I don't want to just push it up, because see, it's going to change the thickness of it and everything. Put that back the way it was. So what I want to do is I want to come up here to my edit tool and see the it's highlighted, and it's telling me that it's this wide, 720, and it's 6.045 high. So I want to change that height. I want to change it to 5 inches. So just type in a 5 and press your enter key and see how it changed that Y. And now what I'm going to do, touch the Y again, and I'm going to bring that Y up to the top so it's up even with the rest of them. And now you can see that the Y hangs down just a little bit below. Bring a reference line down there. See, it hangs down just a little bit below, and you can see up in the image up here on the top one how that Y still kind of hangs down a little bit, and you can distinguish that that's a Y because just this design right here in the middle now, it just doesn't look right. I don't like the way it looks. So that's basically what we do. And then what I'll have to do then is I'll have to select this Sunnydale again and see how it's off a little bit. That's because we've adjusted that Y and brought it up. So now I want to select everything. Since these are all broken up, I'm going to have to select them all again, and I'm going to have to group them. Okay, so now they're all grouped together, so all I have to do is touch one, and they're all highlighted, and I can move that how I want again. We're going to bring it over. And remember what I told you, we do the that uppercase or the drive, and we bring those kind of up to the top of the get the 4 arrows, and then you can just drag the whole thing, and we're going to bring it up. And a lot of times I'll visually just eyeball these to get everything all centered. Then what I want to do is I want to capture all of the images. Hold down on your shift key, Sunnydale, and then we'll get the drive. And then group them all together by hitting your group key up here. So you have group and ungroup. So we want to group those all together. So now they're all grouped together, so they'll all move together. So they're all stuck together. So now I'm going to highlight all this. And what it'll do, hit my Control 5, and it just centered everything. Okay, so let me get some of these reference lines out of here. They get kind of hard to see. So now I have Sunnydale Drive. Since I grouped everything together, you know, we did the group, and then we hit the Control 5, not F5, but just Control 5, and it centered everything. So now I have the same distance here, I have the same distance here, and visually I have probably pretty much the same distance here and here. Each one of our signs are unique depending on how many letters are in it. So sometimes if it's a smaller blank, you might have more space between here and here, but these distances are always the same from each edge. So now when you look at the sign on the top sign, it looks much more appealing to the eye. This middle one, I just didn't like the way that looked. And these are all set right now on a wireframe, so I'll turn these back. I'm going to drag this down just a little bit because otherwise when it's white it disappears off my screen. So I'm going to touch this. I'm going to turn the wireframe off, and then the Sunnydale Drive with the logo, I'm going to turn that back to white, and I'm going to get rid of the wireframe. And I'm going to group all those together again. And I'm just going to hit Control 5. They're all even. So then when I cut out my design, it's going to go off to the cutter, and it's going to cut out everything that you see green. And then when I apply it to my sign blank, I can have that big white hole in there. And then what I do is I just, we have these logos printed up, and I'll just go ahead and I'll put the logo in. When we put these on, we kind of eyeball these, get them straight. What we did is instead of just putting the 6-inch logo onto the green, we cut out the extra white part. And what we found out on some of the earlier signs is those stickers that we were putting on, we had these printed out from a printer. They start to kind of peel up on the edges when they're on the EC film, but when they're on the diamond grade, they stay perfect. You know, they don't start to curl up on the edges. So that's just something we kind of found out. So that, and then plus it just adds a little definition to it. So there's my workaround for addressing that issue when the letters hang down. You know, like your G, your Y, your Q will do that to you. It just kind of, it drives me nuts when I see it like that. And it just doesn't look good. A lot of people say, well, how do you do that? And they started running into this problem when they switched from all the street signs used to be uppercase and they were, you know, all caps, and there was never a problem with that until you get into this issue now where they're doing the first one's capitalized and then the rest are lowercase, upper lowercase. So there's my little workaround on that. I hope that kind of helps everybody out. Any more questions or comments or concerns, just put them down in YouTube or catch me on my Facebook page, Bob the Sign Man. And you can also email me at bobthesignman@gmail.com.
All right. Well, there you go. Simple little workaround for adjusting those little letters that hang below. Uh, just don't like them. I like this better. It looks more natural to the eye, more appealing, and that's what you want. You want your signs to convey the precise message with the least amount of effort to look for the message, to read it. That's why a lot of street signs now are going with symbols. Um, but you can't do a symbol with the street sign, so you got to make it pleasant to the eye so they can read it. And I think I did okay with it. No complaints, like I said. You can still read the sign, you can tell what it is, so that's what it's all about. And I don't think people really notice that much, because they do hang down a little bit, but the Y's, the P's, and stuff. So it's not like they're all flat across. And that I tried it like that, and they really looked out of place. But I tried different kind of things, and just like you can try mess around with it, see what you like. But you run into these problems. You always run into problems. And when you do, who are you going to turn to? That's right, you're going to turn to the site man. As always, thanks for watching.